The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
14:20 in the morning, 14 minutes and 20 seconds worth of sports talk to get you through your daily commute. Hot takes, recaps, best bets, and a little humor to get your day going in the right direction. Sit back, grab your coffee, and let's get into it. All right, 14:20 in the morning for this fourth day of December 2023. 3 weeks from now, Santa Claus is coming down your chimney with care. There we go, for the fourth day of December 2023. Today's show, as always, is brought to you by SeatGeek.com and the SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420pod at SeatGeek.com today and save yourself $20 on your first purchase over there at SeatGeek. Make for great stocking stuffers or holiday gift ideas over there at SeatGeek. Remember, we are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Go to bellyupsports.com for all their great articles and other podcasts. Make sure you check out Belly Up and Friends, rising the charts over there on Spotify. Make sure you check out all the podcasts right there. All our friends at Belly Up are right there. One-stop shopping for all the sports podcasts you need. Go and support the indie podcasters. Everybody can listen to McAfee. Everybody listen to Colin Cowherd or Stephen A. Smith or Michael K. But listen to the indie guys once in a while. We appreciate the support on a daily basis. And thank you very much from everybody here at 1420 World Headquarters. We're in the middle of a transition phase here at World HQ. 2 weeks from now, we'll be moving locations, moving studios a whole bit. So bear with us as we won't be getting content out as much as we would like to, but we'll keep flowing away as we are. Anyways, another big weekend in the world of sports, whether it be college, professional, or whatever it may be, or amateur sports right across the country and across the globe. But we'll start with the college football. It drummed up some controversy yesterday. There's no getting around that. They decided who was going to be in the Final Four. You have Michigan, Washington, Alabama, and Texas are in. Georgia and Florida State's out. Florida State's the one that it's mind-boggling to me. 13-0 in a Power 5 conference. They had some great wins throughout. We'll get to those in half a second. Alabama somehow got in. I'm not exactly sure how they got in, but they did. Apparently, you have to have an SEC team in no matter what. The money's too big, I guess, and the way they travel and on and on and on, which I don't understand because every team travels quite well at this time of year when their team is in. But it's just one of those things. Alabama, they had a loss to Texas early. Their only loss on the season, obviously, but they had some pretty ugly wins. Texas A&M and an ugly win against Arkansas. And then a game that they shouldn't have won in the Iron Bowl 2 weeks ago. A week and a half ago, whatever we want to say, that they shouldn't have won against Auburn. Auburn kind of pissed that one away more than Alabama won that game. So you had three games that Alabama did not show up for at all, and basically they got in because they won the SEC. And I understand the SEC is the SEC, and they are the kings of college football and everything else. But why play the games in the other conferences? Then it doesn't make any sense to me why these SEC teams get in year after year, no matter what. Most years they have an undefeated team like Georgia was for a couple of years. We're the powerhouse. They lost a very close game to this Alabama team on Saturday afternoon in the SEC championship game out there in Atlanta. But I don't see why how a 13-0 team who also won the Power Conference and had no blemishes on their record whatsoever. Yes, their quarterback is hurt. They're not as good as a team right now as Alabama, but you can only you can only beat who's in front of you. You can only do what you can with what you got, and that's a team that should have got in. There's no reason why Florida shouldn't have got in. They beat LSU early. Florida State, they beat LSU. Clemson, who's on a bit of a downhill spiral right now, and then in-state rival Florida, who's an SEC team, that they went and rolled through everybody 13-0, some big wins, some close wins, but there was nothing ugly about their schedule. I shouldn't say their schedule, but there was nothing ugly about their performance throughout the season. They didn't escape barely. They didn't. They rolled through everything else. They had some really huge wins, like I said, whereas Alabama just kind of eked through the whole thing. And the thing that kind of makes me laugh about this, and everybody who listens to the 1420 podcast, they know I'm not a Big Ten apologist by any means. I think that's becoming more and more prevalent throughout the world of sports talk radio, whether it be on the podcast form or on radio, that a lot of people are seeing through the Big Ten for what it really is. Michigan, for some reason, they were in no matter what with their 12 or 13-0 record. They beat a big Iowa team. Iowa, there's a scary force in college football. They beat Iowa in the Big Ten championship game. Yes, they had the win in the game last week against Ohio State, but after that, who did Michigan really beat? So why does Michigan get a free pass? Because they're just in the Big Ten, and then Florida State doesn't. That it just does not make a whole bunch of sense. You think about some of the games that Michigan won this year. They had Rutgers, Nebraska, Minnesota, Indiana, and Purdue. 5 games right there that anybody that people in both conferences, all conferences, are like, yeah, of course they're going to win those games. They have a powder puff schedule year in, year out. They kick the crap out of a terrible Michigan State team this year as well. So now I've just named 6 games that they're going to win no matter what. They don't play anybody. They play 1 game a year in the Big Ten. If no matter what, whoever wins the Big Ten and whoever wins the SEC get in no matter what. Florida State got screwed. Florida State is probably a better team than Michigan. Michigan gets in because they are a Big Ten in the Big Ten conference, which is extremely overrated in this podcaster's opinion. And I think that something's got to change. Yes, they're going to a 12 team playoff next year, which is a lot overdue, but it's one of those things. I don't understand why Michigan got the free pass compared to, you look at their resume compared to Florida State's. Florida State's resume is way better than Michigan's, and Michigan was in no matter what. Nobody was talking about Michigan not getting in yesterday. Nobody was talking about Washington not getting in yesterday. It was Florida State, and Florida State got screwed. Florida State should be in over Alabama, and if you want to make the argument, they should also be in over Michigan, who gets a powder puff schedule and got in by playing nobody, which the Big Ten does year after year. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm not. Anyways, the baseball winter meetings, they get going today down there in, I think it's in Nashville this year. It don't much matter anyways where it's going on there, but the Ohtani sweepstakes obviously is the big news. It should come down any day now. It could be happening right now as we're speaking here, 14:20 in the morning on this 4th day of December at 10:06 a.m. It's going to come down to I don't even think it's going to pay the most money, but I think it's going to become a situation where Ohtani's just going to probably want to go to somewhere where he has a chance to win. I don't think if he's going to be staying with the Anaheim Angels, the California Angels of Anaheim, or whatever they're called this week. I think if he was going to have signed there, he probably would have signed there already, said, I'm coming home. It would have been a done deal already. I still think that the Dodgers are the number 1 contender to get that. I talked about it a little bit yesterday when I did a quick little video, but for those listening on the podcast forum today, I think that the Dodgers are still probably the force to be reckoned with. He won't have to move wherever he lives there in Los Angeles, in Southern California, and the sun, the money, the team are all contenders. That's all a big thing right now. The Jays have kind of found out that they're still in their running. Everybody's offering north of $500 million for this guy. Some people are talking $600 million. I think that's a bit of an overpay for a guy who's not going to pitch next year. I would prorate that contract. I don't see why paying $500 million right now for a DH doesn't make a whole bunch of sense to me. I personally wouldn't do it. I would say we'll give you 40 this year and then 50, 60 next year, but I'm not giving you 500 million right for this year coming up to be a DH. That makes 0 sense to me. I don't know if the guy even has an outfielder's glove. He probably could figure out how to play the outfield, but you don't want to have a guy of that stature getting hurt, because he is a great pitcher, obviously, but he can't pitch this year because of Tommy John. I read before when I was doing some show prep here that the Atlanta Braves they've come into the forefront too of being a team that's looking to sign Ohtani to join the Rangers. The Rangers dropped out. Sorry, the Giants and the Cubs, along with the Jays and along with the Angels and the Dodgers. The Braves, who made a deal yesterday with the cheap. It was really cheap. And I picked Seattle a long time ago to get in there and to sign him, but I didn't know how really cheap that the Seattle Mariners really were. I knew there was some fiscal restraints that they put on themselves for some reason, but I didn't think that they were that cheap. And now they got rid of some more parts last night with a trade with the Braves, and now they're maybe looking at going out and signing Blake Snell. But back to Ohtani, I think that he's going to probably just be a Dodger. I think it's going to be the way it goes, and maybe these conversations that he's having with these other teams are just driving the price up, because the Dodgers have not enough money. If they have to pay $600 million, they'll pay $600 million, and that should put them over the top, you would think. But it's come down to pitching. The Dodgers have always been able to score runs, but they just haven't got the pitching. But so it won't be a this year deal for Ohtani. It'll be more for a next year deal if he can pitch, and how long that can last for. So it's going to be interesting to see how much money the guy gets. I personally wouldn't do it. I don't know how one guy like that can put you over the edge. He's an all-time talent, but you still need other guys around you. The Jays would be a better team with Ohtani. Everybody would be a better team with Ohtani. There's no getting around that. But you're signing that paying that much money for a guy doesn't make a bunch of sense on the field because you still have to fill out the rest of the roster, right? But off the field, it makes nothing but sense. The jerseys and the ticket sales and and the licensing and everything that you would make with an Ohtani signing, obviously it makes a big difference. But I don't know how much I would invest in the guy if I'm a team that's kind of on the brink right now. And another thing that made me laugh when I like the Juan Soto trade. Apparently the Yankees have cut their talks with Soto. Now the Jays are in on the Soto talks as well. The Padres with their wonderful brown pinstripe uniforms with the yellow trim, they apparently they wanted the world. They wanted upwards of 6 players and a couple of pitchers for Soto from the Yankees, and the Yankees basically. And I'm kind of proud. I'm proud of Cashman to go out there and do that because he's a one and done guy, and Soto's not going to win you a championship next year out there in the Bronx. But now the Jays are said to be in the running to go out there and get that guy because maybe they're in for one or the other. It's kind of one of those deals to get either Ohtani or Soto. So you might as well say you're going out to get both of them to make your fan base happy, appease the fan base, saying, yeah, we gave it a shot. We did what we could. It could be just lip service. They're not actually really intent on signing either of these guys or getting these guys on their team this year. But I had to laugh when I read yesterday that Alek Manoah was part of the trade package to San Diego. Like, what kind of an incentive is that? I'll trade you my Corvette for a Volkswagen. Like, it just doesn't make a bunch of sense. Where Manoah, it would probably help him to get a different fan base, a fan base that's not as he wouldn't be in the eye as much in San Diego as he was up here with the Jays. But it was just kind of a funny, like, we'll throw Manoah in. Oh, thanks. A guy who didn't pitch last year, and when he did pitch, he was absolutely terrible, and is said to be overweight with a bad attitude. Thanks for that info. Thanks for that input and that info and everything else. So I hope they get this deal done so we can, once the Ohtani deal is done, you'll have a lot more guys getting signed. Once the first shoe drops, and they say, okay, this is what this guy's getting, then it can be comparable to what everybody else is going to get throughout the world of professional baseball in the major league. So once the Ohtani signing is done, you're going to see a lot more guys moving as it is every year. But I still think that I wouldn't mind seeing him go to Toronto, just the increased viewership and everything else that it would bring, and it would be a lot of good talk for sportscasters, podcasters up here in for our friends down south, for your friendly neighbors to the north, to get more people interested in the game of baseball. Let's move into what everybody around here is interested in, is the game of hockey. Usually I don't agree with everything that John Tortorella says, and I'm not a big Tortorella fan, but a lot of times he just says things to say things. He doesn't take much blame for his teams not being very good. He has a very short shelf life for most teams he coaches. He goes in for 2 or 3 years. People get tired of him, and then they move on from him. But he does a pretty good job early on with wherever he goes. And over the weekend, I can't remember what day it was. It was Friday night or Thursday night. Garnet Hathaway, one of the big physical defensemen for the Flyers, he laid out Luke Hughes, one of the Hughes boys. I think it was Luke. Yeah, Luke the defenseman. He laid a big hit on him that went in the boards. Apparently, a play that I, for one, have to agree with Tortorella on this one. I didn't think it was a penalty at all. I thought it was just one of those situations where there was some contact, and because Hathaway is such a big guy, and those Hughes boys aren't, there was just the momentum that took Hughes into the boards, and it looked a lot worse than it was. And it was one of those things that was a hit 20, 30 years ago. We wouldn't be talking about it here, but it's one of those hits that it was a result of kids not being able to take hits anymore, and and players not thinking that they're going to get hit anymore. And Hathaway's a big bruising guy who's made a good living playing in a game with a different skill set now than what most people are used to. He's a big physical guy that doesn't mind throwing his weight around, and that's something that he did the other night. And now you have a bunch of smaller, skilled guys who are infiltrating the National Hockey League that don't know how to take a hit because they've never been hit throughout their amateur hockey career, whether it be junior, college, or a minor hockey and the like. So now you have a guy that goes and throws his weight around, and people don't like it, and then instantly, as soon as somebody gets hit, it's an automatic penalty. And I didn't think it was even a penalty, let alone a 5 and a 10. I think he got for that, and he was out of the game. But I didn't think it was a penalty at all. And I thought it was a very good of Tortorella to call out the league and say they're trying to get away from hitting in the league. It's a contact game. We can't get rid of that. And then the other thing that he brought up was how come there's an automatic fight every time somebody lays a hit. One thing the National Hockey League can do very easily with that one is it's an instant instant instigating penalty for the guy who instigates the fight after one of these big hits. Because every time there is a big hit, the guy who laid the hit, he has to drop the gloves and get in a fight for something. He's just playing the game of hockey. And I really like the way that Tortorella, he called out the NHL a little bit, how they're trying to change the game without saying they're changing the game. And the game can't change. It can't get away from hitting. So if the hitting goes away, it's going to be the ice capades out there, and it'll be nothing but a bunch of small kids who don't know how to play the game the way the game is meant to be played, the way that guys my vintage and a little bit older and even younger like to see some big hits, and instead of just a bunch of highly skilled guys who go up and down the ice not really doing a whole bunch. And it's going to really take away a large faction of players of guys like Hathaway who are big and strong and may not be as mobile and can't move as well. And so you're going to get those guys out of the game completely. I don't think that's the way the National Hockey League can go about doing things, because no matter what, you see a big hit, or you see some physicality, or you see some action, or you see some fisticuffs, that's when the crowd really gets going, and you can't doubt that. Yeah, they love a big goal and everything else, but no matter what, when there's a big hit or a fight, people like that. And if they get away from that, you're going to lose a lot of people who watch the game of hockey. And the buildings are full, but I don't know what the ratings are like on TV. So you just have to watch what National Hockey is trying to do. And I like Tortorella's comments. Like, in the 3.5-year history of this stupid podcast that we've been doing, we've been talking about how the game isn't any better, how it's just a lot different. And that hit on Friday night, it wasn't a penalty on Hughes, and that's on Hathaway on the Hughes hit. So just my thoughts on that. It's one of those things you just don't like to see those guys being taken away. If you're 6'5" and above, if they take hitting away, you probably aren't playing in the National Hockey League. You got to try a different sport. There's not many sports for 6'5" white guys unless you can shoot a basketball, right? And even that, you got to be 6'10", 6'11". So it's just one of those things. And it's not just white guys. It's all races and creeds and everything else. So I was just kind of cracking the joke here at 14:20 in the morning for this. Three weeks away from the fat man coming down the chimney. And here's a little, speaking of the fat man coming down the chimney, here's a word from our friends with some holiday gift ideas at SeatGeek. Give Santa and his elves a break from the grind this Christmas season and ask for tickets from SeatGeek. SeatGeek has tickets for shows, concerts, and sporting events for around the globe. And by using promo code 1420POD, you will save $20 on tickets. Tickets make for great stocking stuffers and gifts, so go to SeatGeek.com or the SeatGeek app for all of your ticket needs this holiday season, and use promo code 1420POD today for your Christmas ticket. There we go, 1420POD at SeatGeek.com today. Save yourself $20 on your first purchase of great stocking stuffer ideas and just holiday ticket ideas. Speaking of tickets, I didn't obviously pay for a ticket, but on Saturday night, we sat down here in the Yankee Tavern and we put the volume up to about 9 on the old stereo and listened to and watched the Kiss final concert. It was just reminiscent, good reminiscing about days past gone by, going to Kiss concert as a young kid. Like, I was like 9 or 10 years old. I think it was my first one back in 1983 or 84 or whatever year that was. And then the first incarnation of the Kiss reunion tour, 97, and then one of the final reunion tours, and one of the final ones. But that one on Saturday night, Paul couldn't hit the high notes as much as well as he used to be able to, but it was still entertaining. It was the same old Kiss show that we've grown up watching over the years, and it was good to sit down here and have a few laughs and reminisce a little bit about the days of Kiss. Now they're going to go to some AI stuff, and who's going to watch that? But anyways, let's get to birthdays, and on this, it's a tip of the cap actually. Let's do the tip of the cap first. Let's get into this. A 1420 tip of the cap goes out to Baseball Hall of Famer as of yesterday, contemporary retired manager Jim Leyland. Leyland received 15 to 16 votes by the contemporary area committee and became the 23rd manager elected to the Hall of Fame. Leyland was entertaining at times and controversial at times and a bit crusty at times, but who led the 1997 Florida Marlins to a World Series title. He won 1,769 games, regular season games, his 22-year career. Leyland is 18th on the career wins list for wins, but second among those who never played in the major leagues, as he was a minor league catcher in the Tigers organization, but never got above Double-A, finishing his career with a .222 batting average. Leyland was known to be a bit crusty at times, was ejected 73 times in his career with stops in Pittsburgh, Florida, one season in Colorado and Detroit. A 1420 tip of the cap goes out to Baseball Hall of Famer Jim Leyland. There's Angel Hernandez getting rid of Jimmy Leyland. He was an entertaining sort, that one. He was always funny, always smoking, not always, but smoking cigarettes in the dugout kind of made me laugh, kind of reminded me of some old coaches and managers when I used to umpire years and years ago when it was, I don't know if it was ever accepted to smoke cigarettes in the dugout, but it was always funny to see some guys do it. And I think you guys know who I'm talking about for those in the Leopard area. So the tip of the cap goes to Jim Leyland. And happy 52nd birthday to former heavyweight champion of the world, Shannon Briggs. Briggs was born on this day in 1971 in Brooklyn, New York. Briggs began boxing at the age of 17, training at the Starrett City Boxing Club in Brooklyn. And in 1992, he became the United States amateur heavyweight champion. Briggs then moved on to professional ranks and won his first 25 fights as a pro while being trained by the legendary trainer Teddy Atlas. Briggs got his big chance, his first title on November 22nd, 1997, when he fought George Foreman for the lineal title. The fight ended with a controversial note as Briggs picked up the win by majority decision in a fight that saw Foreman land more punches and even broke Briggs' nose. Briggs then fought WBC heavyweight champion Lennox Lewis, and it didn't go very well for Briggs at all. He was knocked down for the third time in the fifth round, and the fight was stopped shortly by TKO. Briggs' career record over his career was 60 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw, and 1 no contest. Happy birthday to Shannon Briggs. Shannon the Cannon Briggs. He had a great career, but he was just at that point, like he was good, but not great. And then they had some great heavyweights back then. But Shannon Briggs, he was a big dude. But anyways, there's a sad note to that. So his birthday actually shares it with the same day that his mom passed away from a heroin overdose when he was a young kid. So his birthday is a bit bittersweet, I would think. But anyways, happy birthday to Shannon Briggs. There's today's show for you. 14:20 in the morning. It's got lots going on. Like I said, things we're going to still keep putting stuff out there. Make sure you go to the 1420sportsbar.com and check out some articles and everything at 1420 related. Go to the shop and get yourself a t-shirt or a hat or whatever you want to do for the Christmas season and get things going right. There it is, Monday morning. Dave and I was talking some NFL football tonight, obviously, with we do our infamous list, as Jim calls it, and we get our reviews of F that team frauds and favorites, because I think I know who my fraud team is. They didn't fare too well against the San Francisco 49ers yesterday, so it was just a bad game or not with the Philadelphia Eagles, but and the Kansas City Chiefs are frauds. Let's not even with Swifty in the building, they couldn't get it done. Anyways, it doesn't matter where you are, it's who you're with. Have a good day, folks, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. You just listened to the 1420 Sports Bar podcast. 4 beer with sports talking a whole lot more. We are part